Look at them. They're
Niall.
like...
Harry,
That's Harry, yeah.
look how old he is and how old I am. I will ask you a question now, you and Harry. Am I allowed to say poo on Virgin 80s?
Of course you can.
If you want to go for a poo and you're on air, what song do you play?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Or
Stairway
to Heaven, right? Okay.
TV or radio, Jez?
Virgin Radio 80s Plus.
Jeremy Kyle. Hello.
How are you?
Welcome to Virgin Radio and Virgin Radio 80s Plus. This is a thrill because usually I'm on your show and it's so lovely of you to give up some time and be with me.
Always.
This week.
Big fan of Stevie D, the main man.
Well, you're an amazing broadcaster. In the next hour, we'll find out everything that you've done, your legacy. You're an excellent radio presenter.
Thank you.
You kind of gave me my break to do little TV bits and you're so supportive. But just to see you in action, you are... a world-class presenter.
You're very kind. Listen, it all started for me on radio. So being back in I was on Virgin in, I don't know, was it early 20? I think sort of 1999, maybe. Chris would probably know better than I do, but when we were in Golden Square. So it's great to be back. I loved Virgin Radio. I did it for 4 years.
You always say, and whenever you talk about Virgin, your eyes light up, and it was a
proper
genuine
music
kind of career highlight.
So a really good friend of mine, Paul Jackson, was the program director, and he brought me in, and we had a ball.
Yeah.
Chris was there first time round. It was manic. It was weird. It was great. I loved it.
Well, we're going to get into it. Your list of songs, literally, there is not one filler in this 10, in these 10 tracks. Did it take a long time to come up with them?
I could have picked. Listen, I'm that age, 57, I suppose now, right? 58 in July. It was all about the 80s, and they get so wound up, all the kids on the show, and they go, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." It was amazing music. It was amazing. And I'll tell you how old I feel right now. I don't know what the right word to describe it is. You hear songs that take a sample from the 80s?
Yes.
I'm that old. They're now taking a sample of a sample of a sample they took from the 80s. That's true, isn't it?
It is.
So you hear like something out like Tainted Love 3 songs ago.
Yeah.
Amazing music. Loved it. Loved the era.
Your first track, Martha and the Muffins. This is the one that you mentioned straight off the mark when I asked you if you do this.
1987, don't know why. Martha and the Muffins, Echo Beach. I don't hear it very often. Just one of those songs that for me, I hate the word iconic, but it was for me, would always be an anthem for me. It was always just, not a lot of people would they select this song? I don't know.
We play it. We do play it, and it's beautiful, especially on a summer's day.
See, that's why you're so good. I once got sacked from doing a dance show, not on Virgin, for playing Mike and the Mechanics, The Living Years. And the programme control ran me, and he went, "Why are you playing that?" And I went, "Well, they play it in the clubs I go to." So I'm not hip at all. But Martha and the Muffins, Echo Beach, fantastic song.
JK is with me all this week. We are picking some amazing songs. This next track is The Human League. Tell me, go on, you introduce it. Why do you want this?
Again, one of those songs. What was the question I first asked you about Phil Oakey?
The third nipple.
But this is true. He apparently had 3 nipples and they were all pierced.
Is this true? Because I Wikipedia it and I got some strange websites coming
I bet
up.
you did.
Yeah.
You probably know about that. And he had that really shaved head one side and the big, long, floppy hair. He was, I loved also Electric Dreams with Giorgio Moroder. But yeah, the Human League were amazing. And do you know the 2 singers from the Human League?
No, go on.
Wasn't one of them, or was that in Wham? I get confused. Anyway, listen.
Well, we had Pepsi and Shirley in Wham, didn't we?
That's it. I'm trying to think who the other one was. Anyway, Human League to me, again, really just summed up the era. I loved Phil Oakey. I loved the music.
So what was Jeremy Kyle doing early 80s? How old were you? Were you doing radio shows?
1965 I was born. Do you know the song that was number 1 when I was born?
Go on.
Help by the Beatles. Honestly, it's true. Brilliant. I suppose you start to get into music. So 1979, I know this is 80s, right? I bought my first album. Do you know what that was?
Go on.
Parallel Lines by Blondie.
Right.
First song that got me was Denis, or Dennis, as somebody once said on the radio. And all that album was amazing. And then you start, don't you, 15. And at that time we would and this, God, I feel old. We would record the top 40 on a Sunday night, right? And then rewind the tape and stand in your bedroom with your what do you call it, hairbrush in front of the mirror, pretending. And Phil Oakey Human League was just massive for me. And people nowadays go, Human League, what are you talking about? Amazing.
Yeah, and
amazing.
People may think Harry Styles is like out there for wearing a bit of makeup, but these guys were doing it.
Got a great story about Harry Styles. You want a great story about Harry Styles? You sure? So in doing my old job in America, and I did it for 3 years, I got approached by somebody who said, "There's a lady who'd like to meet you," and it turned out to be Harry Styles' mother. and we went for dinner. And Harry Styles turned up. It was just a little cafe, literally in New York on 56th.
This is
and they were playing. This is absolutely.
I love you.
I can show you the picture. I'm going to show you the picture, right? While we're doing this, I'm going to find the picture. But this is true. So we ended up going to this concert at Manhattan, and there were 21,000 screaming kids. And Tom and I, my mate, who used to do the television with me, right? We left because it was too loud, right? And I'm going to prove to you, right? Scroll through those. That's how. Right? Look. Just have a look.
Look at that.
Look how young. Go through the next look.
Look at that.
There you are.
Look at them. They're
Niall,
like...
Harry,
That's Harry, yeah.
look how old he is and how old I am. And I'm the only person, right, to walk out of a One Direction concert after 11 minutes because the screams are too good. Went home and had 2 lagers and a burger. Honestly, true.
It's too loud for you.
And I don't do showbiz stories, but that's absolutely true.
Amazing. Queen, I Want to Break Free. Come on, Jess. Now, first of all, do you love the video as much as I love the video?
I love the video. I love the band. I just think it's so tragic the way that he was taken. I think Freddie Mercury was the most extraordinary showman. I think from Bohemian Rhapsody to there isn't a song. It's one of the albums that I would have on whatever you call it. What do you call it? I don't understand. I just put the things in and Vic tells me what button to push. But yeah. Queen, again, one of those bands that stand the test of time. And I can't, I can't think of one of their songs that doesn't, when the radio's on 80s songs, that would just go, oh, that's Queen, and you'd turn that up. I loved Queen.
And I have spoken quite a lot over the years about people like George Michael's coming up in a bit, but Freddie Mercury, people who unfortunately lived through that time where it wasn't acceptable to be who they were, and he was lambasted, wasn't he, Freddie Mercury, for his lifestyle.
What a showman.
I mean, but unbelievable.
And to have to hide that, if you think about him and you think about Elton and you think even about George Michael, there was a period where they absolutely couldn't be who they were. And of course they were flamboyant when they did their work on stage in front of people, because that was sort of an alter ego, I guess. But we had some amazing singer-songwriters. And if you watch the Elton John film, if you watch the Queen film, just extraordinary. I mean extraordinary, really.
The bit in Bohemian Rhapsody when, they recreate... I wasn't there. Were you there at Live Aid? Did you go?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. When was that?
1985.
Was I there? No, I wasn't there, but I remember it.
Did you ever see them in action?
Yeah, I've seen Queen 3 times in action.
Wow.
To me, I do genuinely, what will come out of this interview is I'm actually very old and happy to be changing into my dad every day on telly. But I have to say, I don't think there's the quality. Nay, I'll get slaughtered. I don't think there's the quality of music there is nowadays. I think if you go to a gig and it's all... I went to see Elton John the other day at the O2, as you know, where he spent half the time in a dressing gown, by the way, but it was still good. His voice at 70 whatever is extraordinary.
Yes.
Freddie Mercury's voice was unbelievable. And I'm not saying, but I haven't been to... I don't get many gigs now, but I think you go a long way to beat that sort of talent.
Yeah.
I thought Freddie Mercury was unbelievable.
Let me ask you, ahead of Prince, Purple Rain, which is your next track, the big question, TV or radio, Jez?
Radio is the most unbelievably wonderful thing to work in because you don't have to wear makeup and get dressed up. But I think... And that connection with one person. And I remember Paul Jackson was the boss at Century in Manchester, where I was, and he got the gig at Virgin in London, and he rang me and he offered me the job, and we were doing Jazz's Virgin Confessions, which is a sort of phone-in show, because he said, by the way, he gave me the gig because he said, you're the worst music jock I've ever employed. And I said, why? He said, because you interrupt every bloody song. It's a nightmare. Shut up. Because he says, I'm just going to leave you a show where you talk. And for me, I always thought that being in a room and connecting with one person. I remember the night before I started on Virgin, I was literally, this is old-fashioned, this story, and I went into his office at 6 o'clock. We were on at 8, I think, or 9 or something. So what's the matter? And I said, I'm so nervous. He went, you're just in a room, aren't you? Doesn't matter whether you're on local radio, doesn't matter if you're on a hospital radio, doesn't matter if you're on national radio. Drank half a bottle of red wine with his help, and just went to work. And that was... And that's what Chris and you and the really amazing broadcasters do, because it's not embarrassing, it's easy, isn't it? And for me, in response to your question, and certain people like Chris Moyles, if he's still broadcasting, he'd disagree with me. I think going from radio to television is the easiest thing in the world. If you can talk for 3 hours, if you can read, how can you not read an auto cue? I think radio, the skill of broadcasting on radio, the skill of connecting with people is... amazing. And for me, like all television presenters always end up with one last gig, and it's the radio. I mean, I came back here to talk radio, and then that became talk TV. But yeah, radio will forever be in my blood. And I can imagine if anybody's stupid enough to employ me, being 70 and having an ISDN line in my house somewhere and doing, because I love it. I absolutely love it.
But you're really, really, really good at both. You're great at both. You're like the master of both.
Well, to me, it's not difficult, is it? The very first show I ever did was for BR&B. No, it wasn't. No, GWR. And this is absolutely true. I remember, I was a salesman. They said, will you come and do a show? And it was an overnight show. And you do know if things aren't great if you do 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. Saturday into Sunday. I'm not being rude, but you ain't got much chance. And I went into the studio, and there was a sort of tech up, like your man. What's your name? Harry, yeah.
Harry's a producer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In
the old days, he used to be tech ops. Harry's a producer. Anyway, and this guy sort of showed me what to do, and then he buggered off. It was like 10 to 1. And I was so nervous, and I was almost hyperventilating. It's the first time I'd ever done it. And the first song, and in those days, you put the CD in the machine, turn the button, push the thing. Tried to get my head, wrote it all down. Anyway, and I went, just after 1 o'clock, this is Jeremy Kyle on GWR, Bristol and Bath, and here's Tina Turner and Simply the Best, and pushed the button and went, ugh, and then for some completely inexplicable reason, without any understanding, right, stopped the CD. And at that moment, honestly, Stevie, this is true, I realised what it takes, because instead of going, I went, I don't know what you expect. I've been absolutely pooping myself for days. I can't even believe how nervous I am. Then people started to call, probably 3 people. And it went from there. And then the second, honestly, these are terrible stories. And then the second show, I sort of got into it a bit, and I didn't have any callers. And then this couple, it was 1:30 in the morning, phoned from Newbury. He was called Steve, I think, and she was called Christine. I don't even know why I remember. Anyway, they were in their barn because their cow was due to give birth. This is absolutely true. So I put it on air. And at 3:20 in the morning, this calf, 87 pounds, they named it Jezza, was born. I got dragged in on the Monday morning by the boss, and he went, I don't think I've ever heard that before. A cow being born. Would you like to do more? I mean, I just, and I think Chris does it so well. We've been through that zoo phase. We've all done breakfast shows where there's lots of people cheering and whooping and hollering. We've been through the stage in the 90s where you had to play the same song 6 times in a row because they were, the Australians arrived and said it was good for music research. But that connection between a DJ, a radio presenter, whatever, and their audience, just that is unique, and you can't do that on television. Of course you can't do that on television, but I just find radio so fantastic. I really do. I just want to finish up my career at Virgin, but they won't give me a gig.
Well, I'm going to give you the chance now because I want you to introduce Prince and Purple Rain, and it's over to Jez.
I'm not very good at this now.
Introduce this and give me the.
Do you want me to do what DJs do? Yeah. Right, next, here we go. No, I'm like,
go on.
Another one of those iconic figures, and I think I was really drawn to Prince because he was shorter than me, because it took me ages to sprout when I was a kid. A real sort of, reminded me of Hendrix almost, that sort of guitar playing, boot wearing, I just don't know, arty, opinionated man. And for me, this was one of those songs that just in the 80s, every time this came on, this would blow. I mean, I'd turn it up so loud, my mother would get annoyed. This is Prince and Purple Rain on Virgin 80s. And listen, turn it up and enjoy.
Oh, look at you. This is wonderful. Are you enjoying this?
Yes, I am.
It's great to have you here.
I'm having fun because I haven't got an auto cue in front of me. Coming up next.
You can wax lyrical. Listen, congratulations on the television show.
Thank you.
It's doing really well. I've been lucky enough to be invited on it a couple of times. Really enjoyed it.
You're my challenge, Annika. I'm going to put you in a helicopter and jumpsuit soon. Can you imagine Stevie D in a jumpsuit?
Is Lycra involved?
What?
Is Lycra involved?
Concentrate on the job.
Okay. But what I love about you, obviously you were here when I met you. You're on Talk Radio. It's now Talk TV. We've known each other for a couple of years. You've always been you're so professional, so invested.
Why not?
And I know, because you had a tough time after the ITV thing and everything that's going on, and yet you would never ever know it. You're just so inspirational in that way. This building, Chris,
Talk Sport, Talk Radio, this company have been amazing, and I think everybody knows what happened, and that was 4 years ago. For me, to come back amongst friends and be able to broadcast, and for me, whatever happens, I managed to do that and flourish a bit and enjoy. And It should be fun, by the way. I see so many presenters nowadays, and I've said this to you before, I see so many presenters in this woke world we live in who are so scared of losing their jobs, they forget to do their damn jobs. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to be, a opinionated person. People will say, oh, you're listen, I listen to all sorts of opinions. People evolve and they develop. You look at Chris. The first time round, he was a hellraiser. Now he runs to work, for Christ's sake. Wears a tracksuit and eats carrots. I said to him the night we're going for a drink. He went, no, I don't drink. Well, what's wrong with you, man? You need to have a drink. And people change and they get old. And I actually, instead of being frightened of getting old, I'm loving it.
What's the golden formula then?
For getting old?
No, for being a great broadcaster in these times. We're in 2023.
Be true to yourself. Know the parameters. To me, you can't, Stevie, you can't teach somebody to be a broadcaster. You take Ken Bruce. If you saw Ken Bruce in the street, age 72, in his Skechers shoes, right? I'm being serious. It's not even the voice. There's some connection he has.
Yeah.
There is some connection that Chris Evans will always have. The first time I met Chris Evans, there was like this aura. I was so embarrassed. He said, sit there. It was lovely to me, but I remember thinking, good God. But he's always been approachable. I think the best broadcasters are approachable, and I think they are. And also, by the way, this is what I used to do on the radio, and I do it on the television. Sometimes people are too perfect. They go, oh, I just make a mistake and own it and get on with it and be you. Because in life, people don't get every sentence right, and they do. I mean, I used to fall off mid-chair, and I once got locked out of the toilet. Well, this is a true story on Virgin 1990 something. I will ask you a question now, you and Harry. Am I allowed to say poo on Virgin 80s?
Of course you can.
If you want to go for a poo and you're on air, what song do you play?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Or
Stairway
to Heaven, right? Okay. Now, in the old days, before technology, if there's 30 seconds of silence, the entire radio station starts going backwards. Did you know that?
No.
So it goes back an hour and starts playing it again, right?
Okay.
And we had, in those days at Virgin, at Golden Square, we had a pass. So I went for a poo, and I forgot my pass, and I don't know what time it was, because there was nobody there. The woman that was answering the phones or the man that was... They'd all buggered off.
Yeah.
37 seconds in, and the whole thing went... And they went, welcome to whatever, it was an hour ago. And people were... And I was 11 minutes standing in the corridor. Honestly, I nearly pooed myself twice. It was a nightmare, but that's a true story.
But I bet you carried it off.
I just came in and said, I'm terribly sorry, I got stuck in the carsey. What do you mean? And do you know how I got my first... This is another thing. Do you know how I got my first radio gig? Do you remember sending a demo tape?
Yes.
What do you put on a demo tape?
It's tough.
What did you put?
Well, you literally 5 links, but you've only got 30 seconds really to
I learned this from Jackson. So I did this, and he said it was genius. I went, well, my name's Jeremy Kyle, welcome to... And he said he played it in his car, and after 10 seconds, I went, I bet you're about to go and change the dial. I was just leaving you to think that I wasn't there, but I am. And he put his hand down to change the thing because he thought it wasn't working. Just stupid thing. And the second link I did whilst eating a bag of sweets. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, I think people to resonate with people and to liaise with the right sort of feeling, just be yourself.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful thing watching you in action. And I do, and I've learned. And just in the last couple of years, I watch you and how great you are with the callers, and you can go from light to shade, can't
I think
you?
That's really important.
Within a second.
But I think that's really important because it's real life, isn't it? I think that, to one person it's funny, to another person it's not funny. And I think you just have to be you. That's all. But listen, Christ, I've made so many mistakes on air. I mean, honestly, but you just have to be yourself. It's not the word of God, it's wallpaper. Don't take yourself too seriously. And I had a great lesson from a guy years and years ago, a guy called Phil Easton, who ran Radio City. Radio City in Liverpool was only the 4th commercial radio station. And Phil was 30 years. He had the Great Eastern Express. He sadly died eating a ham sandwich with his dog next to him, watching the Jeremy Kyle show. I mean, what a terrible way to... I'm being completely serious. Good. And I carried his... He was amazing. He was one of my best friends. And he always said to me, just be you and just own it and just... If an audience, be it musically or any other way, believe what you're saying because you're authentic and they don't think that you've been told to say that or you're saying it to garner support, even if they spend a lifetime disagreeing with you, they'll go, you're all right, this is opinion. That's how I see it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, always.
I have never heard anyone ask you this. And obviously,
God.
The last few years have been tough and everything, but no one can forget for, almost like 2 decades, your show was the biggest show on television. Was it fun doing it? Did you have a good time?
It's a really difficult question to answer, isn't it, with everything that's going on? Listen, the Jeremy Kyle Show went for 15 years. I'm sure that by the time it finished, the world had changed. We did it to the best of our ability. Many people watched it. Many people participated happily. I think the world's changed, Stevie. And I think we all change. We change as broadcasters, human beings, and whatever. And I find myself now doing a different type of show, but also trying to just do it. And many people work on it. And that's the best way that I would say it. Because, of course, if I sit here and I say this meant this or this meant that, then that will be misconstrued. You can look back at all sorts of things that have been on the television. And a lot of what you saw in the 80s, we're talking 80s, wouldn't be on the television anymore. And you think, my God, the world was a very, very, very different place.
And programmes like The Word on Channel 4.
That's where, well, Terry Christen, don't start me on that. And that's where I think Harry's generation, I'm pointing at you, Harry, I know the camera can't see you. That's where I think the world has improved dramatically.
Bryan Adams, Summer of '69.
Now, he won't sue me, but we used to call him the Groover from Vancouver, or Pizza Face. He had terrible. He had
I knew you were going to say that.
He had terrible spots in the 80s, didn't he? Of course, the song, the iconic song that was number one is called...
Everything I do it for you.
Thank you. 15 weeks number one until it got done by some other song. But Summer of '69, and I was reminded of this because my kids' school do a song every year, a house song, and they all did. They were like 8 to 12, and they all did Summer of '69, and they knew all the songs. What an anthem, Summer of '69. Do you not think?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Run to You or Summer of '69. Would you go for this?
Summer of '69.
So I'll probably go for Run to You.
Of course you would. You're being pedantic.
Listen, quick question. You mentioned your kids. I don't know if many people know this, but you are such a loving, great family man, and you always talk about your kids. You got, how many? Is it 5?
5 kids.
5 kids. I've met your wife, gorgeous Vic.
She's saved my life.
Yeah.
Different class.
Amazing.
Different class.
You've got amazing setup, and I know how much they mean to you and how I've been on air when your kids have phoned you
during the telly show.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? I'm trying to do a television show. FaceTime with me. My kids are everything. Somebody once said to me, and I hate this about people are on telly already. What's your legacy? That I was a good father. Thanks very much. The rest is irrelevant. Yeah. I have a 33-year-old, so I'm a granddad.
Wow.
Don't look surprised, Harry. 19, Alice at university. Ava, incredible kid. Suffered with severe dyslexia and has confounded everybody. Henry's 14, so he'll go like this. Can I have some breakfast? I'm just going to speak to a girl on the phone now. Amazing, my kids, and Oliver, who's 3, who binds them, I should say, all together. So very, very lucky, and I think, and I know Chris would agree. I think when you go home from this crazy world, and the older you get, when you get off the train or out the car or off the bike in Evans's case, what's that all about? It's hurt your legs and all that pedaling everywhere. And you've got your kids and you're just dad, and the next morning you're on the school run, and I think when you're younger and you're getting into the business, be it radio or television, it's I want to do that gig, I want to put myself forward for that. I'm really happy just to do my thing and go home, and I think they definitely kept me sane. They definitely.
You can really.
They
tell.
saved me.
You can really.
They're amazing. Painful as bad. They said things to me like, "You all right?" Why have they started talking to me like that? Alice said to me the other day, "Would you like a drink?" I'm only 57. I know, but you just sit down. I quite embrace being old, though.
Yeah, you liking it? You having a good time?
Yeah, well, I can't still move my forehead, but that's just telly for you. Look, this is me looking shocked. That's it.
It's just a pair of eyes dancing
There's
around.
There's nothing else going on. Look at that. I can't move anything else, to be honest.
Jess, we've come to the final track. By the way, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me on.
No. I mean, it's wonderful.
You are a proper friend, and you're an amazing DJ, and I love the fact that you love the music and you do it so well.
Oh, well, thank you. And I love your show. And it's a big love.
You can be on it again.
Can I be on the
yes.
show? Okay, all right then.
The last song I picked,
yes.
And again, I could have picked Elton. Wham again. I mean, and Vic and I were talking about it, and she was going, "Wake Me Up Before You Go." No. Club Tropicana. No. Careless Whisper. Absolutely bloody not.
Why this one?
Again, freedom to me with the flick and the white trousers and having fun. Andrew Ridgeley made £8 million and he never sung one line. How bad's that? Honestly, you want to attach yourself. I'm thinking of setting up a band. Do you want to join?
I'd love to.
I'm going to call it Jerry and the At-Tricks. No, I'm not. I'm going to call it One Erection. No, I'm joking. Wham, to me, another iconic band. George Michael, again, a superstar.
He wrote this age 19. Do you know that?
Did he really?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
I mean, I think it's just one of those anthems.
What a talent.
I would put Freedom as, like, you know, Summer of '69 and Let's Dance and Billie Jean. You know, you could have added Simply Red. Not a big fan of him.
No?
Not really.
Oh.
Boring music, don't you think? Simply
love
holding
Simply
back
Red.
the years, whatever.
He's so good live.
How many women did he apparently have in his life, allegedly?
Exactly.
Honestly, it gives all hope, doesn't it?
Did you ever see George live?
Yes.
What do you think?
Amazing. Again, just an incredible presence. Really sad the way. In fact, if you look down here and you look at Bowie and you look at Jackson and you
We've
look
lost
at
loads
Prince
of them, haven't we?
and you look at Freddie and we have lost and that also, I think, in your mind makes you sort of switch on to certain things. But as long as I breathe, I will always play 80s music and none other. And I find myself, I do have it on Virgin. I do have it on because I have my tape in. Not my tape. What's it called? She tells me what to do. Bluetooth.
Your Alexa.
What is it? No, I won't do that.
Oh.
What do you think they find out about your private life?
Well, exactly.
What if Alexa's Russian? I'm joking. But no, for me, the 80s will forever be it. So I listen all the time, and I think you do a great job. And I hope I haven't spoken too much.
No, you've been amazing. You've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Do you think one day in the future we'll get a Jeremy Kyle breakfast music radio show? I think that will work. I think that'd be amazing.
Watch out, Evans. Listen, I think that in the end, going back to just sitting here this afternoon, do you know the beauty of this? It's just nobody here, mate. And you can just talk and play.
It's intimate, isn't it?
Of course it's intimate. And you can talk to one person or a million people. And actually, that's what radio does. And that's what Virgin has always done so well. And for me, you know, that type of guitar bass, you know how it is, and it just works. So yeah, 80s all the way.
You can catch this amazing man Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m.
Thank
Talk
you.
TV, Friday breakfast
on Talk Radio.
TV.
Sky 522, all the usual stuff. But yeah, and you'll catch Steve Denny dressed in a yellow leotard one day soon on a moped doing his bit.
You know I'd do anything for you.
You
Jeremy
would in a
Kyle.
leotard. Yes. Thank you, mate.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.